if we're in a season of rebellion, we know we're acting foolishly. We know we are wigged out in some area of sin. And that is exactly when we're going to stop praying and exactly when we're going to get out of the scriptures. Because what are we saying? Depart from me, because I am a sinful man. And all the meanwhile, Jesus is saying to us, do you not think that's why I'm standing here with you? You and I are coming into this house talking about being in the same boat. And we got some storm sequences to go through today that I think we can find much to relate to. Let me remind you a little bit of our map. Remember, we're starting up here at the base of Mount Hermon. We've got what kind of river coming down right here? The Jordan River. And then we've got almost this little peanut shape like this body of water that is called, let's call it by its sea name. What is it? The Sea of Galilee. And around that Sea of Galilee, we have got, this is in the area, that whole region is called Galilee. And you've got some of the cities around that particular almost peanut-looking shape of a lake, that large body of water that are very familiar in the biblical narratives. You've got, if this is the Sea of Galilee, right about here, you've got Nazareth. Right about here, you've got Cana. That would have been where the first miracle took place in the Gospel of John, in John chapter 2, when Jesus turned the water into wine. You would have at the top, the very northern tip of it, you would have Capernaum. Right next to it, just a couple of miles away, Bethsaida. All of these are very well-known places where Jesus did things that are extremely notable in the Gospels. So these are important cities to us. On this side of the lake, so we've got the Sea of Galilee. On this side of the lake, it goes into Gentile territory. You've got Galilee right here. You've got the Decapolis right here. Decapolis is a word that means 10 cities, because originally there were 10 cities. There were more cities over time, but it kept that one name. That territory is extremely important. It is one reason why Jesus is basing ministry in that part of the world, because the further he goes down toward Jerusalem, the less mix there is going to be of Gentile and Jew. He's right up there where he can cross that lake back and forth, and where there is more influence into Gentile territory, which was just as important to the gospel message as the Jewish territory. Then we come down, so that we've got what river? The Jordan is then going down. It's continuing to flow downward all the way till it gets to what body of salt water? The Dead Sea. At the top of the Dead Sea, over toward the Mediterranean a bit, that's where you find Jerusalem. Those are where the key events happen, where he went back and forth to the feasts. We see a number of feasts every single year. The Gospels will tell about him going in for the Passover. We also see him going in for the Feast of Dedication, or the Feast of Lights. We see him going in for a number of the feasts. But his primary place of ministry in those first years were centered right around that sea, because when he hit Jerusalem and he made himself known, they were going to want to call him king before he had gone to the cross. You keep that in mind, and you will have some very, very important elements all in place. And with that, you may be seated. You are turned to what chapter? Mark chapter 3. Mark chapter 3. Now, let me tell you why Mark is important as we are on our boating tour in the Gospels. Because Mark is the shortest of all four of the Gospels. And what we find in it is one mention after another. I believe I'm right in saying about 8 different times we see Jesus in a boat going back and forth with those disciples or by himself across that lake. And so I'm going to show you the very first time that it's mentioned anything about Jesus and a boat, because it's a very interesting kind of context. I'm in Mark chapter 3, and I'm going to read verses 7 through 10. Now remember with me, just a recap, Christ's incarnation was God putting himself in the same boat with us to do what, sisters? To save us. Coming in the same boat with us to save us. Mark 3, I want to read verses 7 through 10. Jesus departed with his disciples to the sea, and a large crowd followed him from Galilee, and a large crowd followed from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, beyond the Jordan, and around Tyre and Sidon. The large crowd came to him because they heard about everything he was doing. Then he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him so that the crowd would not crush him. Since he had healed so many, all who had diseases were pressing toward him to touch him. And whenever the unclean spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." And he would strongly warn them not to make him known. I want you to see this with me. So he's ministering and ministering. He's healed many people. And he's asking, would you have a small boat ready for me so that the people would not crush him? Now, it's a word that means when it says that they were pressing toward him in verse 10, or whatever may be the way your translation puts it. It's all coming from the Greek anyway. It's a Greek word that means to fall upon, literally to just throw yourself upon. And I don't know if this speaks to you, but I cannot tell you how fascinating I find the whole incarnation continually through the course of my life. As much as it is the most basic truth that I learned as a little girl, that God sent his son, who was fully God, who wrapped himself in human flesh and walked among us so that he could live out his perfect sinless life and give it on the cross for us and then be raised from the dead. These were the first things that I learned in Sunday school as a child. And yet still, all of these years later, nothing fascinates me more than what it would have been like for God to put on a human body. Now, he knows everything, all present, all powerful. And I want to just go with me here for a minute. Suddenly gets stuffed in a human body. This is the one, the Logos, the one who spoke the world into creation, Colossians chapter 1, spoke the world into creation, and he is stuffed into a body. If we were to just pitch out maybe according to what was the average size of a man in that day in that part of the world, and maybe 165 pounds, God fitting in this body that in eternity never ailed, was never infirmed. Suddenly, if he gets bumped hard, he bruises. If he gets cut, he bleeds. And then he knows, and this is part of the idea of him being in the same boat with us, suddenly he knows what it's like to be crushed by a crowd. Don't you think that's a crazy thing? Jesus going, I might need you to work me to a small boat in case they trample me. Because just a touch, they had heard, just a touch and you will be healed. There's nothing he cannot heal, just a touch, just a touch. And here he is, subject to this, God who loves, the God of compassion, and in all the fleshing out of being one person meeting all of these needs. So you've got to know that And you've got to see part of this scene before the disciples ever get called and given authority, because this is the way he worked it. He then begins to place increasing authority that he has on them and out through them, and then out through the ages through his children, to go and minister in his name. And no, we're not him. We're not little gods. We can't do what he can do. But he sends us out to minister, to be hands on the people, to go out all over the globe in his great name and to share the gospel.
The further they drove from the airport, the more magnificent the houses became, the thick columns, the ornate European trims, and the vast porches were like pages turning in a pop-up history book. The longer they drove, the closer Jillian drew to the window. She had landed on another planet.
Full of suspense, mystery, and rich character development, The Undoing of St. Sylvanus is sure to stir the imagination and keep you glued to the page. Set in the heart of New Orleans, the story unfolds in a mysterious church-turned-apartment house where an odd assortment of saints and sinners pass through. Discover forgiveness and redemption woven into the tangled web of a family's broken history. As our resource this month, Living Proof Ministries is excited to present Beth Moore's fiction novel. It's sure to make your summer book club a hit. Order your copy today.
Jesus said to his followers, "If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also." And to this day, all over the world, they still do. But Jesus promised more, that those who suffer for his name's sake would not be forgotten. Today, Voice of the Martyrs operates in 68 countries around the world, reaching out through persecution response, through Bible distribution, and through frontline ministry. We will share their stories. We will mobilize the body of Christ to stand together with our brothers and sisters who face persecution wherever it happens. We will serve our persecuted family through practical and spiritual assistance. And we will carry on the mission of the one who called us, Jesus Christ, who said, "Go and make disciples of all nations, no matter the cost."
I got to tell you, we have all been through a lot in the last years, but I have never in my life, I say to you, I have never had more confidence in the pure gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Oh, my soul, lift up the name of the one who saves. He reigns forever. Oh, my soul, lift up your praise. I will rise and bless the Lord. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul.
Let me tell you something. He's come to speak in power to us this weekend because his word is fresh and alive. That's the miracle of the scriptures.
Come join us in a city near you.
So I want you to see this with me. Just this crowd, this whole element around this incarnation. It immediately goes into the 12 apostles being called, chosen, and prepared. That is the text that instantly follows. With that in mind, I want you to look now at Mark chapter 4. Mark chapter 4. I want to read verses 1 through 3 to give you a little placement about what's going to happen here. 1 through 3. Again, he began to teach by the sea, and a very large crowd gathered around him. So here we are again. So he got into a boat on the sea, and he sat down while the whole crowd was by the sea on the shore. So picture that with me. And then it says, he taught them many things in parables. And in his teaching, he said to them, "Listen, consider the sower who went out to sow." Now, this perhaps is one of the most familiar of the parables that he tells. The most lengthy version of it is in Luke chapter 8, the parable of the sower, the parable of the seed and the good soil. But what I love about it, this is just a little Bible trivia here, but I just think that knowing this kind of stuff is marvelous, is that he's teaching about the good soil from the seed. because that's his little mobile pulpit, and the only way he can pull back enough from the crowd where they can even hear him and stay attentive to what he's teaching. But all around them, all around that lake, they can see farmland, and they can see vineyards, and they can see olive groves. So this perfect picture of him teaching, this was the pulpit he loved, right in that little rocking boat. Now, with that in mind, turn with me even further. Mark 4, verse 35. On that day, when evening had come, he told them, let's cross over to the other side of the sea. So they left the crowd and took him along, since he was in the boat, and the other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking over the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. He was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. So they woke him up and said to him, Teacher, don't you care that we are going to die? He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, Silence, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And then he said to them, Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? And they were terrified. And they looked to one another and they said, Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? When we're in the same boat with Christ, we're in for the ride of our lives. We want just this steady thing, don't we? Just like, I just want to stay right here. I'll give up this to give up this. But I just want to stay right here. Well, the thing about being in the same boat with Jesus is that you're going to have some of the most gorgeous sights you've ever seen in your life. Breathtaking, where the water becomes silver in the early morning dawn light, where you see spectacular horizons the rest of the world may never see, where there's just a calm to it and some kind of comfort that comes from that tide rolling up over and over and over and over again. And then a storm comes and stirs up all those waves, and lightning starts to split the sky, and the wind is blowing until you can't stand up. And you're thinking, how can I have all the beauty and splendor and none of the storm? And you cannot work this out to save your life. Because when you get in the same boat with Jesus, you're going to have a ride. And you're going to ride waves. And you're going to see the calm. And all of it will be one big, glorious toss up of the holy faithfulness of the one who commands the sea. My granddaughter, my youngest grandchild, is 3 years old. And something that grandmothers just do, I don't know why, I don't know who thought it up, but it comes as naturally to us as anything we possibly do, is that we tickle their backs. It's just, can I speak to a grandmother here that knows what this is? They know they've exhausted their mothers, they've exhausted their fathers, but when they go to grandma, she's fresh meat. And I mean, it's like, we will do anything for them because we're just ready, we can't wait. And so one of the things that we will do, I mean, invariably, and sometimes I've got 3 of them, and sometimes it's all 3 of them, and I got 2 hands, so I'm almost playing the harp with them like this, trying to tickle all of their backs at once. And what Willa does, and so Annabeth will be on one side of me, and Willa is on the other, and Willa just keeps thinking of the next thing. That she'll go, can you tickle my head right here? Can you tickle my elbow? The other day, she put up her foot like this, and she said, can you tickle my foot? I mean, she's like, because really, that's what we had in mind. That maybe Jesus would just tickle our backs. You know what I'm talking about? That we just like, can't we just sit and feel good about everything and be relaxed and have nothing but that kind of comfort? Just feel good about the whole thing. Feel some peace. And yet he's going, no, what you need to know is peace like a river. Have you ever thought about those words? Because he didn't say, I'll give you peace like a pond. It's like the still waters. He said, peace like a river, like White Rapids River. That's the kind of peace that he's talking about. Now, I want you to just get this with me for a second, because let's go through this little narrative. I'm just going to take my notes up there with me, and I'm going to get in the boat for a second, because I want you to understand what's happening here. So on that day, they come to the evening. He told them, let's cross over to the other side of the sea. So they get in the boat, and the windstorm begins. And so then the rains start coming. The skies are furious. And so here is Jesus. Jesus is just like in the back of the boat going like this. What I just love about it is that it says that they had to wake him. Now, here's all this wind, and the boat is just getting sloshed. All of that still did not wake him, because he is just in full command of all of it. But they are like, don't you know we're dying here? I mean, that's a little bit dramatic, don't you think? And so he just gets up and he looks at the wind. He says, stop it. And he tells the waves, silence. And he said, don't you, honestly, after all this time, after all you've seen, do you still have so little faith? God is calling us to increase our faith. And yes, he'll give it to us. But I think that it is possible. What so often happens for us is that we find this groove that is not too risky, and this is where we sit. I'm asking you, when was the last time you really rode the thing with him? Rode the thing with him. When was the last time he did something that so shook you up that you went, who is this? That the wind and waves obey him. If your and if my impression of who Jesus is has not changed in 20 years, we are staying at a very, very safe distance. Because if we're drawn in close to him, we're having these moments one right after another. Because we're thinking, honestly, are you going to let us die here? Or we're thinking, this is the most beautiful scene I've ever seen in my life. Just the big ride that we call the walk of faith. Now, I got to tell you something. He's heading over to the other side. Now, the other side, we're not going to get strongly into this portion of it. But when he gets to the other side, I want you to see that verse 5, that chapter 5, verse 1, when it says, when they came to the other side of the sea, to the region of the Gerasenes, as soon as he got out of the boat, a man with an unclean spirit came out of the tombs and met him there. He had smashed all the shackles they'd put on him. He had been so overcome by the devil that he was living in complete isolation, out of his ever-loving mind. These disciples had never seen anything like this. I wonder, has Jesus ever taken you to the other side? Some of us have lived on the other side. Could I see a hand? We know what it's like to be around people that we think have utterly lost their minds and been overtaken by darkness. We ourselves have known that kind of darkness, a kind of inner sense of violence and destructiveness. And he heals the man, sends the demons out of him that are legion, and leaves the man in his right mind. You know, one of the things I'm praying today is for someone to be restored to their right mind, that the enemy has messed with and messed with and messed with and messed with. That there could be a work of Christ in this room, that you would know he would go to any side to get to you. To bring you to a place of soundness of mind where you are freed from the bondage of your self-destruction. I know what it's like to just be bent on destroying yourself. I look back over the course of my life, and I'm telling you that I have the presence of mind to put 3 sound thoughts together, to share them with a group, is a miracle. And I want somebody encouraged in this room that God can make such a miracle out of you that you may doubt a whole lot of things. You may not know how to work out what end-time events look like or how to solve the problem of when terrible things happen to wonderful people. The age-old questions may still be beyond you, but let me tell you something. When you are no longer the person that you were, when you know yourself so well that you know nobody, no person on earth, and least of all you, could have brought those changes into your life. You may doubt a lot of things, but whether or not Christ is Lord is not one of them. I can tell you that what has happened to me could not happen through an imaginary friend. I could not have thought enough positive things. I wasn't a positive thinker. I was an extremely destructive, tumultuous thinker. Jesus honestly came and he saved my life. He came and saved my life. And he wants to do that with somebody here today. And take that mind that is in so much turmoil and speak peace over it, so that even when the winds are roaring and the waves are crashing over you, you know that you are his and he is yours, and no one can take you from him.
Living Proof would like to send you a thank you gift for your donation. Visit bethmoore.org/donate.
Thank you so much for watching today. It is our joy to serve you at Living Proof Ministries. We do not take a single one of you for granted. Click subscribe so that you don't miss a moment of our time together in Scripture.